The 16 presidential running mates in Ecuador end their campaign ahead of February 7th's general elections. Brazilian mining giant Vale has signed an agreement to pay $7 billion in compensation for the 2019 dam collapse that killed over 200. U.S. President Joe Biden announced the end of the U.S. support for the Saudi-led war in Yemen and called for an end to the conflict. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Janet Perez Moya from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Ecuador, the 16 presidential running mates end their campaign ahead of February 7 general elections. The day includes early voting of inmates. This Thursday, political organizations scale up their vote-gathering activities in the last stretch of the campaign. In spite of the restrictions imposed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, candidates are expected to hold several meetings with voters to share their government agenda. More than 13 million voters are registered to go to the polls on Sunday. On this occasion, voters will elect the nation's president, vice president, and parliament. The electoral schedule advanced in Ecuador with over 8,000 prisoners casting their ballots. The voting taking place in 39 prisons distributed through the country will be attended by the electoral authorities and police officers in order to guarantee the transparency of the process. It is also expected that the vote-at-home process will continue on Friday, an option available to the elderly and people with reduced mobility. A leading member of the National Electoral Council of Ecuador has requested that the status of two international observers to Sunday's election be revoked. The request regarding European Parliament member Manuel Pineda and politologist Juan Carlos Monedero was made by the Vice President of the National Electoral Council, Enrique Pita, to the President of the Electoral Authority. The official alleged that the two international observers has expressed comments in favor of the presidential candidate for the Union for Hope coalition, Andrés Arauz. The move comes just a few hours before the end of the electoral campaign for the general elections to be held on Sunday. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro called for the holding of the Bicentennial Congress of the People with the purpose of strengthening regional integration as well as promoting social struggles. The activities begin with the 29th anniversary to the civic-military rebellion led by Commander Hugo Chavez on February 4, 1992, and will culminate on February 27, commemorating the 1989 social uprising known as Caracazo. This Congress is an opportunity for grassroots leaders and social movements to draw up strategies to form a new roadmap for progressive forces. The governor of Miranda State will be in charge of the initiative promoted by the National Assembly, the Minister for Education, and the Ministry for Youth and Sports. The Venezuelan population is also commemorating the 29th anniversary of the civil-military rebellion known as the Day of National Dignity, which marks the civil-military uprising led by Commander Hugo Chavez in 1992. The date is seen as representing the rescue of the Bolivarian values and the return of dignity to Venezuelans, snatched away by the decadence of the neoliberal political system that governed the country from 1958. The attempt to take power on February 4, 1992 marked a historical step in the independence and sovereignty of Venezuela and will lead to the triumph of the Bolivian Revolution led by Chavez years later. Venezuelan National Assembly member Diosdado Cabello recalled the uprising of February 4, 1992 as part of the struggle for the true independence and sovereignty of the country.
We are here today, standing before this great man, our gentleman, Commander Hugo Chavez, as on every February the 4th, we come here to honor the leader of the Bolivarian Revolution And when we honor these gentlemen, we honor our people. We honor the Bolivarian Revolution. We honor those men and women who that day, completely selflessly, with absolute selflessness, left everything behind, everything at home, our children, our family, our lives. Some might say our military careers. We left them behind. We put our fear behind us, and we went out to accompany a dream.
Cabello also emphasized that the 1992 civil-military rebellion saw the free Venezuelan from the domination of U.S. imperialism.
We did not rise up against a democratic government. We rose up against imperialism, which was ruling here. None of us were offered money to rise up. We are not mercenaries. We did it with our hearts, with our souls, with our spirits, convinced of changing the destiny of our country. And we did it, as Vielma said, regarding that February the 3rd, with a smile on our faces, with joy, with firmness. It is no small thing that we did. Comrades, let us feel proud.
We will go now to a short break. Follow us on Twitter at teleSUR English and Perez Moya teleSUR. We will be right back.
Who's moving the chess man? What interests motivate the actors behind each event? What's at stake? Critical Move investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Brazilian mining giant Vale signed an agreement on Thursday to pay $7 billion in compensation to the states of Minas Gerais 2 years after the collapse of one of its dams killed over 200 people. Although the amount of money is less than the $10 billion the Brazilian government was asking for, officials describe it as the most significant settlement of its kind in the country's history. The dam, built to hold waste from a nearby iron ore mine, collapsed on January 25, 2019 in the city of Brumadinho, burying homes, hotels, rivers, and the company's facilities under a wave of mud. The deal includes the continuation of the cash transfer program for another 4 years and restoring the environment in protected areas that were damaged, as well as projects to be defined by impact communities.
The ones who had to sit on the table to arrange this agreement were the victims. The basis committee, the fishermen affected, and the government will be a bridge between the criminals and the beneficiary. Heavy metals remain for centuries in the environment. This needs to be understood. The characteristics of his ecosystems might never be the same.
In Brazil, the Public Prosecutor's Office of the State of Paraná informed by means of a press release that the special team of prosecutors of the anti-corruption investigation, known as Operación Lava Jato, has been dissolved. The document indicates that the members of the team were incorporated as of February 1st to the Special Action Group to combat organized crime assigned to the State Attorney's General Office. The decision was taken in December by the Brazilian Attorney General Augusto Aras in view of the denunciations of irregularities allegedly committed by the team of prosecutors, among which the politically motivated prosecution of former President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. Leaders and social organization representatives are using illegal actions to force the Colombian state to protect their life. This legal action is an alternative to protect themselves, although their rights are protected in the Constitution but are constantly violated.
Mauricio, a social leader, defender of the human rights, and politician, tells us that he has received many threats since he was a college student, and he had to exile. During the peace process and the short-lived democratic environment, he ran to be a town councillor, which led to further threats and harassment.
They make the situation really difficult for those of us who are human rights defenders, for those of us who think differently, for those of us who try to build a counter-political proposal in a country where the social rule of law, freedom of opinion, a whole series of things is supposedly enshrined, but actually those are only valid on paper, but at the time of exercise by people, it is a mess and it is so dangerous that it costs us our lives.
Intimidation can happen in different ways.
When they are going to tell us the first security measures, it is incredible that one receives a real call from the National Protection Unit, and they call and ask you what size of bulletproof vest you are. In Colombia, you do not know if it is a threat or if it is for our own protection.
According to the NGO We Are Defenders, from January to September 2020, there were 135 murders, which is why more than 10 social leaders and 189 organizations that defend human rights filed a protection action to guarantee their rights to live and work. The filed actions are now under the Constitutional Court for review.
All the people filing actions, plaintiffs, are seeking to declare that there is a total disrespect for the Constitution because of the many attacks on human rights defenders, especially those who are living in the territories, who are defending the environment, who are opposing mega projects, which are in areas replacement.
Around 20 leaders and human rights defenders have been murdered in Colombia so far in 2021. The peace agreement that Duque's administration has not complied with in its implementation was hoped to bring peace to the Colombian rural area. Added to this breach is that the current security policy in the territories has not allowed the protection of the communities or their leaders. Hence, the importance of this protection that they are demanding.
The problem of aggressions is not an individual problem, but it is a structural problem that also requires structural solutions. So we hope to reach the Constitutional Court for the declaration of unconstitutional state of affairs, so that greater monitoring mechanisms can be created for the protection of social leaders, so that the final peace agreement can be fulfilled in the terms of security guarantees for human rights defenders.
While the court's determination regarding guardianship was known, the peasant leader, politician, and human rights defender Jordan Eduardo Gueto fell victim to the bullets, murdered in the department of Cauca municipality of Toribio, one of the Colombian departments with the largest number of massacres last year, with a total of 14, preceded by Antioquia with 21, according to the Institute of Studies for the Development and Peace.
Hernán Darío Tobar, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
Haitian police repressed popular demonstration demanding President Juvenal Moïse step down from power. Police attacked citizens who mobilized in the city of Port-au-Prince this Thursday to reject the intention of the head of state to extend his mandate beyond February 7. Activists stressed that the move by Juvenal Moïse violates the Constitution, while denouncing that they are being killed by state security force for defending their rights.
The police is killing us. They ask for money to protect us. We go out to look for money to give to them, and the police kill 5 or 6 people anyway. We are Haitians. We are going to show Jovenel and Privert that we are real Haitians. We are asking for help. Help us to protest, because we have no power, no matter how much we do and no matter how much we fight. They keep killing us. No matter how hard we fight, we have nothing.
By demonstrating, we are asking for justice. We ask the world to please look at our case with this demonstration. We are asking for a call of attention because the police is not doing anything. On the contrary, they seem to be in cahoots and they are killing people, and all this is happening because of the same plot. It is not one, not two, not three. It is the whole crowd that is asking for justice. It is the whole Haiti that is asking for Juvenal to go, for the police repression to stop. Can you understand this? We are asking the world to pay attention to us because you are killing us. You are killing your people.
We have more news coming up after a final short break. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. We will be right back.
Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough, and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomic. Monday, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. U.S. President Joe Biden says Thursday that the war in Yemen has to end, pledging to terminate U.S. support for Saudi-led offensive operation and to halt arms sales. Ahead of the Democrats' first major foreign policy speech at the State Department, the White House announced that President Biden is ending U.S. military support for the war by its Saudi allies in Yemen, as promised during his election campaign. The end of the U.S. military support for the Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen reversed former President Donald Trump's policy of providing logistical assistance and selling huge amounts of advanced weaponry, such as precision guide bombs, signaling Washington's new approach to the war, which has led to the world's biggest humanitarian crisis. The Biden administration is also appointing a Yemen envoy.
This war has to end. And to underscore our commitment, we are ending all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales.
Speaking at the State Department this Thursday, President Joe Biden also announced his intentions to massively increase the cap of annual refugee admissions to the United States, which fell to a historical low under Donald Trump. In line with his campaign promise, Biden said he will set the cap on admissions as part of the country's refugee resettlement program at 125,000, representing 10,000 more than the current fiscal year. President Biden said the U.S. will confront that he described as the authoritarianism of China and Russia.
We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's. American leadership must meet this new moment of advancing authoritarianism, including the growing ambitions of China to rival the United States and the determination of Russia to damage and disrupt our democracy.
In France, Union of Representing Teachers, public servants and other workers mobilized on the street to demand better working conditions. Groups of workers massively took the streets in Paris in the framework of a general strike called for this Thursday, demanding better salaries and adequate working conditions in times of pandemic. According to a trade union spokesperson, this is the second protest in less than 2 weeks in which workers from different sectors are expressing their discontent. They warn that precarious labor conditions are directly affecting incomes and consequently livelihoods. Some 20,000 demonstrators, according to the CGT Union, marched in Paris for employment and the defense of public service. Among the demonstrators, a nurse from the St. Antoine Hospital denounced her working conditions and a lack of resources, which has led her hospital to only take care of COVID patients at the expense of others.
Today is the continuation of several mobilizations that took place during the month of January. Mobilizations by sector, by profession, so it's a bit of first step in these mobilizations to say that social issues are paramount, and the government must stop giving priority to the economy in the sense of aid for business, and that it should focus on workers, students, young people.
We are happy to be civil servants and to invest ourselves, but now we no longer have the rights to holidays. We only have the right to 25 days of holidays, whereas before in every town hall we were entitled to a little more. That was also what allowed us to accept such a low salary, and now we find ourselves with nothing, no longer the right to reward days, no longer the right to pension benefits. We have the right to nothing at all.
Soldiers in the Democratic Republic of Congo patrolled empty village in the Duju region on Wednesday, which has been living under the threat of violent groups for months. Violence in the northeast has forced thousands to leave their homes and live in refugee camps. About 12,000 people have faced violence in Duju. While residents demand solutions, security and peace from the government, the governor of Ituri province has said peace in the region is difficult to achieve due to the presence of different armed groups on the proximity with South Sudan, where the situation is unstable. One of the last violent events in the province left 46 deaths in a single attack in January. According to the international organization, 5.2 million people are internally displaced in the DRC, representing the largest number in Africa. African leaders are expected to focus on the continent's COVID-19 response at the virtual summit this weekend, as well as present security crises that have gone overlooked during the pandemic. The two-day African Union summit comes almost exactly 1 year after Egypt recorded the first COVID-19 case in the continent, prompting fears that member state health system will quickly be overwhelmed. However, the continent also has said that so far being hit less hard than other regions, recording 3.5% of global infections and 4% of global deaths. During the summit, member states will also hold internal elections to lead to restructured executive body. Meanwhile, security crises to be addressed include the 3-month-old conflict in the U.S. host country Ethiopia and longer-running difficult situation in the Sahel and elsewhere. South Africa has, in the recent past, made headlines for all the reasons. Xenophobic attacks on migrants have even prompted the government to send envoys to countries of the migrants and apologize. But now, a church based in Munisha, the last town before Zimbabwe, is changing the narrative. teleSUR collaborator Matuba Maxtali has more.
Bridge border posts may be just a line dividing South Africa and Zimbabwe, but this is a gateway to a better life for migrants from all over the African continent into South Africa.
People from Malawi, from Congo, from all over Africa, they use the bridge border to come to South Africa. This is a big international port. Even the cargoes, when they go to Malawi, they go to whatever country, they use bridge border.
Upon entry, many children get lost or enter the country alone. Some of them end up at this shelter.
They don't have parents. Their parents are far. Some of the children, they were separated on the way with their children, with their parents. Some are often from their countries.
The Uniting Reformed Church in Musina, South Africa, has been housing children of migrants for more than a decade now through this shelter. This was an initiative by the parish pastor, Professor Lisiba Matsaung, who recently died of COVID-19 related complications. But the work he started continues even though there are difficulties, especially where funding is concerned.
At present, we are depending on people who are giving us humanitarian assistance. People can bring food parcels. Some community members will bring something like this. We don't even have a budget for electricity or gas.
Funding is not the only challenge they face. The South African government has introduced laws that make it even more difficult for undocumented migrants to get asylum.
They said you must have a passport, you must have some document to show that at least you are from this country. It's impossible. If I'm running away, I cannot take anything. I mean the purpose of being protected by another country is because you are prosecuted from your own country.
Caring for migrants is a thankless job, but these South Africans are determined to give South Africa a good name to her neighbors. From Musina in South Africa, I am Matuba Mahlachi.
We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. Thank you for watching.